What is good, everybody? GamerCritic here, and today we are going to do what frankly I should have done weeks ago. We're going to vote. Yes, we are going to vote for the Game Awards. I'm going to go through every section. I'm going to talk about all the nominees. And then after all that, I am going to make my pick for each category. So, we got a bunch of stuff to do. Let's just hop right to it. Oh, and one other thing I got to mention, guys. All these esport content creator categories, yeah, I'm not voting on those. I'm not voting on those simply because I know nothing about it. It will be a waste of my time and yours, so we're not even gonna do it, okay? So let's start with most anticipated game. Most anticipated game, recognizing an announced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. So for me, it's between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Hades 2. Now, here's the thing about Hades. Hades is one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the only games I've actively given a 10 out of 10. So Hades 2, I am absolutely pumped for. Truly, I am so ready for Hades 2. But I had to go with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth only because we've seen more of it, and the trailers we have seen for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth look like absolute insanity. The game looks crazy. It looks huge. It looks like you can dump literal hours in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just from looking at the trailer. So honestly, this is actually a pretty easy choice. But I do want to make it clear, I am very excited for Hades 2. Okay, so let's move on. Best adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. We got Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal. Haven't seen Castlevania Nocturne. Haven't seen Gran Turismo. It's between The Last of Us, Super Mario Bros, and Twisted Metal. I think the obvious choice here is Last of Us. The Last of Us was a show that could almost rival the game in terms of its quality. Almost. I did have some problems with it. I did have way more problems with it than like the game, but it's the fact that this show not only stayed faithful to the original game, but also managed to do a couple of its own things differently is what I really appreciate about it. Go Last of Us. It's good stuff. Best multiplayer, for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So here's the issue, right? While all these games do have multiplayer, I really only played the multiplayer for 2 of the games here. The only games I actively played the multiplayer for were Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6. And I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna go with Diablo 4 for one main reason. While Street Fighter 6 is a hell of a lot of fun, great fighting game with a great multiplayer, I was actively unable to enjoy and play Diablo 4 unless I was playing in multiplayer with my friends. I know, I've tried to play the story by myself several times, and for the most part, it's okay, but the real crux, the real fun of Diablo 4 comes with playing with your friends. That whole joy of going through that sprawling world with all your crew was awesome. Really was awesome. So I'm gonna go with Diablo 4. I'd also like to say Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure has a wonderful multiplayer, but I'm playing that game by myself and I'm still having a ball, which is more than I can say for Diablo 4. So Diablo 4 gets my best multiplayer. Good on them. What do we got next? Best sports and racing, for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a sports player. So wait. So what do we got here? We got Esports FC 24, F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, and The Crew Motorfest. The only one on this list I played was Forza Motorsport, so I'm obviously going to be picking that. But I heard Hot Wheels 2 was fun, and I heard The Crew Motorfest was like a less great version of Forza Horizon 5, so, you know, good on The Crew. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with Forza, because Forza's the only one I played, even if it was for just a few hours. But I mean, it was pretty, it was cool. Yep, yeah. What can I say? I'm not a sports and racing guy, guys. I'm not. Best sim strategy. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. What we got here? We got Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, City Skyline 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. I forgot that Advance Wars 1+2 was a thing. I remember people were so excited for that game and were so annoyed that kept getting delayed. But when it came, I don't think I heard anyone talk about it. That's real interesting. That's very interesting. I played Fire Emblem Engage. It was very fun. The gameplay was cool. The animation was beautiful. The story and characters were pretty ass, not gonna lie, but everything else was solid. I'm still gonna go with Pikmin 4. I'm still gonna go with Pikmin 4 simply because Fire Emblem Engage kind of has a learning curve. So it took me a minute to really understand what the hell I was doing. Pikmin 4, I picked it up, and after like an hour, I knew what I was doing. After like an hour, I knew what I was doing, and I felt confident in it. So I just had way more fun with Pikmin 4. So Pikmin 4 gets that vote. Best family game. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, we got Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Best family game, aka best Nintendo game. Let's be honest, guys, Nintendo's the only thing that ever wins in this category. You know, I like to say this. I like to see a game that isn't a Nintendo game win this award. Truly. But I gotta go with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I know what I just said. But two things. One, I haven't played any of the other games here, but Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a game that can truly be appreciated by everyone. I know what I said, and listen, I hope that the Game Awards pulls a 180 and they give the award to like Disney Illusion Island, because I heard that game was really good. But for right now, I just gotta know based off what I know, and the best game that I know and the best game that I played was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder gets that vote. All right, what do we got next? Best fighting game. For the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat. God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. I played 2 of the 5. It is between Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. And look, so let's start with Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1 has a great story. Okay, it's not a great story, it's a ridiculous story, but the story is really fun, the characters are really cool, and the game looks incredible. It's honestly one of the best looking games of this year. But I do my voting based off the description, right? It's a game designed primarily on head-to-head combat. And if I'm being honest, Mortal Kombat 1, even though it is very fun to play, it is not the best fighting game because it is really easy to cheat and cheese. It really doesn't take much skill to play Mortal Kombat 1 in the sense that you can spam one attack and win the battle. Street Fighter 6 is a game that actively gets better the more you play because you're constantly learning its mechanics and improving upon them. So I think by that logic, that makes Street Fighter 6 kind of the better fighting game because it takes way more skill, I would argue, than Mortal Kombat 1. So we are going to go with Street Fighter 6. Okay, what do we got next? We got Best RPG for the best game design with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Where the hell is Octopath Traveler 2 on this list? I'd like to know. I'd like to know how Final Fantasy 16 and Lies of P are here instead of Octopath Traveler 2. That is an RPG that I feel like really deserved to be on this list. Now, admittedly, I didn't finish Octopath Traveler 2, but the 20 hours that I put into it were really good. I did have a really good time with Octopath Traveler 2, but most importantly, it feels like more of an RPG than Lies of P and especially Final Fantasy 16. It's both. Well, okay, I didn't like Lies of P, but Final Fantasy 16 is a really good game, but it is not a RPG, at least in the sense that Baldur's Gate and Starfield and Sea of Stars are RPGs. Great game, just not RPG. Octopath Traveler 2 should be on here. With that said, Final Fantasy 16 and Lies of P not getting my vote. Lies of P, in my opinion, probably shouldn't even be on here. I did not like that game. Sea of Stars, wonderful game. Not the best RPG, I would argue. Wonderful game. And then there is Starfield. I think I might have made it clear a few times that I'm a little sweet on Starfield. I understand it has problems. I understand that in the grand scheme of things, Bethesda might have dropped the ball on Starfield just a little bit. But you know something? I don't care. I dumped 80 plus hours into Starfield and still wanted to keep on playing. Mind you, not a lot of games are able to do that for me. The Adventures of Jacoby Monroe, that's the name I gave my character, his adventures had me engrossed for 80 plus hours. That is not nothing. So, before I give the pick to Baldur's Gate 3, which I think is the obvious choice, I like to say Starfield, I really enjoyed. Really did. Had a lot of problems. I understand it's an unpopular opinion, but you know what? I don't care. I really like Starfield, and I thought it was a really good RPG. So I'm picking Baldur's Gate 3. Because Baldur's Gate 3, compared to every other game on this list, is insane. And after 40 plus hours, I just feel like I'm scratching the surface. And I feel like that is the best thing you can say about a game that is like this. So Baldur's Gate 3 is easily getting that vote. So good on Baldur's Gate 3. Excellent job. Best Action Adventure. For the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I feel like this is the first category that I'm at that really shows just how incredible 2023 was. Honestly, I could happily make an argument for any of these games, and any single one could get it, in my opinion. So with that said, this might be the only category, one of the only categories where I can undoubtedly say it's most likely going to be Tears of the Kingdom. You have an excellent traversal mechanic that allows you to get anywhere almost at any time. You can run, you can glide, you can use a horse, you can even create a crazy machination to get where you want to go, sometimes before you're even supposed to be there. Combat, also great. It is built upon the first game with new moves, new abilities that really add a certain level of player freedom that is more than all the other games here. And most importantly, the puzzles are great. There are way more caves, way more dungeons, way more big side quests that can all lead to almost hour-long puzzles that are honestly really fun to solve. Tears of the Kingdom is the only game that excels at all three. And so for that, I am giving this one to Tears of the Kingdom. All fantastic games, but in this case, I think Tears of the Kingdom just beats them out slightly. Best action game. For the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat: Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Remnant 2. This category frustrates me. It frustrates me very much. You wanna know why? Because I'm currently 2 hours into Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. And if it keeps up the quality that I've experienced in those 2 hours, not only is it really fucking good, but it by all accounts would probably earn the vote for best action game. But the only game where I have put in a tremendous amount of time into it is Hi-Fi Rush. And I'm not gonna act like it doesn't deserve to win this category. Hi-Fi Rush is just a fantastic action game that is constantly going a mile a minute. Like, as you progress through the game, things just constantly get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you match that with the fantastic rhythm-based combat, and it is a constant joy. Hi-Fi Rush is really a fantastic game. So even though I'm annoyed I didn't play some more games in this category, and in particular I'm annoyed I didn't play more of Armored Core 6, I am not sad in the slightest to give the vote to Hi-Fi Rush. Not at all. I wouldn't be mad if Hi-Fi Rush or Armored Core 6 won, honestly, but it would be really cool if Hi-Fi Rush won. Best VR and AR. For the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform, I don't care. I don't care. I didn't play a single one of these. Not a single. What? Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synopsis. Yep, do not care. I will vote for Resident Evil Village VR mode simply because I really like Resident Evil Village. That is my vote. Good times. Okay, moving on. Best mobile game. For the best game playable on mobile devices, I still don't care. I still do not care. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. Haven't touched a single one. I don't plan to touch a single one. I heard of all these, Terra Nil is the best. I heard great things about Terra Nil, heard it's really cute, so we will go with that. Terra Nil gets that vote. Terra Nil gets that vote. Good job. Best debut indie game. Finally, something I can talk about. For the best debut game created by a new independent studio: Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. I actually have a question. On release, Viewfinder did not get that good of scores, so why is it here? Well, I'm honestly surprised that it's here. I can name a couple other games that probably could have gotten a place here. Why isn't Planet of Lana here? That was a debut indie game, and it was great. Loved Planet of Lana. It looked beautiful, had beautiful music, a cute little story. I'm honestly surprised that it lost out to Viewfinder. I mean, again, not that Viewfinder's bad. I'm just saying, like, when it released, it didn't get like super high praise or anything. But I digress. It's between Cocoon and Dredge. Now, Dredge released back in March, and I think it is one of the best indie games of the year. It's sort of fish management with cosmic horror. While Dredge, I think, is one of the best indie games of the year, Cocoon, I think, is not only one of the best indie games of this year, I think it's one of the best puzzle games, period. That's why I'm giving the vote to Cocoon. Literally traveling down to another world to help solve a puzzle that was left in another world never got old. Outside of the fact that it's a great puzzle game, it looks great, it sounds great, which explains a lot because these are from the people that made Inside. So, yeah. I'd say best debut indie by far goes to Cocoon. What they did with Cocoon on a first try is honestly very impressive. Best Independent Game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. This category is getting a lot of controversy, particularly because apparently Dave the Diver isn't an indie game, which frankly I didn't know. I really did not know that. But apparently this is but apparently the company that made it is more AA, AAA size. So apparently this isn't an indie game, and people are pissed about it. I mean, rightfully so. This is, if this is true, which it seems like it really is, this really is a massive L for Jeff Keighley. If you can't even get these categories right, then honestly, the validity of these awards can even be brought into question. Like, if you're not gonna nominate indie games for the best independent game, then why even bother doing it? But I'm not gonna comment too much on it. We aren't gonna harp about it too much. I already talked about all these games: Cocoon, Dredge, and Viewfinder. I already said that Dredge is one of the best indie games of the year. I said Cocoon is one of the best puzzle games ever. But my vote is going to Sea of Stars, because Sea of Stars is one of the best indie games ever made. I think this is honestly such an easy choice. So many great indies from this year. Sea of Stars easily stands on top. What do we got next? We got Best Community Support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 16, No Man's Sky. Again, only played two of these games. I can't comment on Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, and No Man's Sky. And Baldur's Gate 3, I heard, was getting updates since 2020, since early access. The reason I'm going with Cyberpunk 2077 is for one reason. Cyberpunk 2077 had a complete and pure redemption arc. It went from a game in 2020 that was practically unplayable, getting trashed on by everyone, to now by some people calling it Game of the Year in 2023, calling it now one of the best open world sci-fi cyberpunk games ever. And the fact that CD Projekt Red they stuck to their guns and continued to support this game, I gotta respect that. I gotta respect the hell out of that. So Cyberpunk 2077 gets best community support, easy. All right, Best Ongoing Game, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. Now this category, if I'm being really honest, I really can't comment on, because I really don't understand. Like I guess this kind of goes for updates. I gotta go with my gut. Fortnite probably has the most. I still think Cyberpunk 2077 is the best. So Cyberpunk 2077, in terms of new content and updates, did phenomenal in 2023. Games for Impact, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. A Space for the Unbound, Chance of the Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Vemba. Only played played two of the games here. Honestly, A Space for the Unbound, I don't really know too much about this stuff, on pro-social meanings and all that stuff. I'm not too passionate about all that, but I will say that if we're talking about like a pro-social meanings and stuff and acceptance and stuff, I would have to say A Space for the Unbound. It had a very sweet story, very, very well told. It was good representation. So, innovation and accessibility, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. I think Street Fighter 6 of all the games here, I think did the best job of its accessibility. Because getting people into fighting games is really hard. Because fighting games are like a very niche category. But Street Fighter 6 did everything that it needed to do to make sure anybody could pick it up, try it out, and play. And I think I respect that more than anything. Oh boy, we're getting to the big ones, guys. Okay, here we go. Best performance awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. Ben Starr, Final Fantasy 16, aka Clive Rossfield. Cameron Mahonigan, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, aka Cal Kestis. Idris Elba, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. I did not play, so I don't know the name of his character. Melina Liebert, I think that's her name. Melina Liebert, Alan Wake 2, aka Saga Anderson. Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3, aka Astrian, and Yuri Lowenthal, Marvel Spider-Man 2, aka Peter Parker. I played all the games here except for Phantom Liberty, and I can confidently say any of these actors could get the award and I would be satisfied. But I think I gotta go with Yuri Lowenthal, man. Yuri Lowenthal at this point has become the new face that I think of when I think of Peter Parker. Well, he is able to play on the comedic and serious sides of Spider-Man and Peter Parker perfectly. Honestly, yeah, there have been a bunch of great performances in 2023, but Yuri Lowenthal put on the best show. Okay, best audio design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. Damn, that is a powerhouse. Ooh, that's spicy. Okay, one at a time, Jalen. We gotta go one at a time. You can make a really strong argument for all these games, really. The one game I can tell you now I'm definitely not going to vote for is probably Spider-Man 2. Music and audio in Spider-Man 2 is never really what blew me away, except for a few parts. Everything involving Venom sounded great, but the majority of the game wasn't flooring me with its audio. Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 all blew me away for the same reason. It's because all of them are horror games, and so they all have to sound great, and they do. Everything is loud and distinct, from the footsteps to the sounds of the enemies to the sounds of the weapons, all sounded great. But they already had their time, and they already were built up from the ground up, so I don't think I should give this category to a remake. No matter how wonderful they sound. So it's between Alan Wake 2 and Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, I think, is the most interesting game on this list. Because unlike all these other games where, yes, the audio is, well, Spider-Man 2 audio is good. Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 4's audio is fucking great. Hi-Fi Rush is a different beast, I think. Simply because the audio of Hi-Fi Rush makes or breaks the game, if that makes any sense. Like, music and audio in Hi-Fi Rush is the game. Like the entire selling point of Hi-Fi Rush is its audio. Hi-Fi Rush with its audio and how the audio is simultaneously connected to the movement and gameplay of the game. You know what? I think I just made up my mind. Alan Wake 2 is great with its audio, but that's just it. I can only name parts in Alan Wake 2 where the audio really blew me away to the point of memorization. But Hi-Fi Rush was blowing me away with its audio constantly throughout the entire game. And I think by that logic, I need to go with Hi-Fi Rush. All right, best score in music for outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or license soundtrack. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Stacked list. Literally, every single one of these games could get it, and I would not be upset. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, beautiful soundtrack. Probably the one I remember the least, but great soundtrack. Baldur's Gate 3, also beautiful soundtrack, but I didn't finish the game, so I'm definitely not going to vote for it. It's between Alan Wake 2, Final Fantasy 16, and Hi-Fi Rush. Alan Wake 2 is special because its music really connected with me on an emotional level, and furthermore, having a song at the end of every chapter was awesome. Not to mention, Alan Wake 2 has that super awesome We Sing section. That is a W. Hi-Fi Rush's music is different. Hi-Fi Rush's music is great because, like its audio, it makes the game. Like, it literally enhances every single part of Hi-Fi Rush. It what makes Hi-Fi Rush so enjoyable. Then by that logic, the objectively best soundtrack of this year is not Alan Wake 2 or Hi-Fi Rush, it's Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy, and you know, in retrospect, it's not even that hard of a choice. Final Fantasy 16's music does what Alan Wake 2 does and connects with you on the emotional level, while just like Hi-Fi Rush, helps to enhance every scene or action sequence that it's in. Final Fantasy 16 would not have been as enjoyable if not for its fantastic music and score. I think this is pretty easy. Literally, all these soundtracks, great, particularly Alan Wake 2 and Hi-Fi Rush, but the objective best soundtrack of 2023, Final Fantasy 16. Best art direction. Ooh. For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Liza P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Look, I'll give Liza P this. If there was one thing Liza P did do really well, it did have wonderful art direction. Really, it did. All 4 other games look gorgeous. But I feel like this is where the answer is pretty obvious. If I'm being honest with myself, I gotta go with Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 left me absolutely struck with some of the visual choices that they made in that game. Hi-Fi Rush, Liza P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom look great. But Alan Wake 2, that one took it to a whole nother level. So Alan Wake 2 gets it. Okay, let's keep going. Best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Haven't played Phantom Liberty, first off. Baldur's Gate 3's story is great. I haven't finished that yet, so I'm not going to vote for it. Final Fantasy 16 story is also really great, has a lot of problems, but it is a really great story. My biggest issue with Final Fantasy 16 is the fact that it falls into the typical JRPG-ness of it all. So it starts off really personal and really sweet, but then it grows into a gargantuan story of like world-ending proportions and stuff. So for me, it's between Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2. I think I gotta go with Alan Wake 2. It's actually a pretty easy choice for me, if I'm honest. One game I haven't finished, the other game I haven't played. Final Fantasy 16, while great, has the most problems of any of these stories. And Spider-Man 2's story, while great, is a story that didn't necessarily challenge you or really make you think that much. Alan Wake 2, on the other hand, like Spider-Man 2 is that big blockbuster Marvel movie that you go to have fun. Alan Wake 2 is the indie art house movie that you go to think about. And I appreciate Alan Wake 2 for doing that. So we're gonna go with Alan Wake 2. Good stuff. All right, my friends, best game direction. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Every single one of these deserves it. Honestly, I'm not gonna be mad if any of these win. Not a single one. Okay, let me think. Because for me right now, it's between Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and honestly, Tears of the Kingdom. These three games had vision in their directions and design that I think trumps the majority of games released this year. Alan Wake 2, simply in the way that it tells its story, is very impressive. That deserves a lot of praise. Baldur's Gate 3, the sheer amount of choice and just how massive the game is commendable. And I know Tears of the Kingdom between these two is kind of being put on the wayside, but guys, really think about what Tears of the Kingdom offered. You know what, guys? You know what? I think I've got to give this one to Tears of the Kingdom too. So don't get me wrong, guys. Let me be very clear. Alan Wake 2, the chances, the direction that they take in that game and the way it tells its story is incredible. Not to mention, We Sing is in that game, and that level is incredible. Baldur's Gate 3, also incredible, with just the sheer amount of choices. With honestly just the sheer amount of choices that you have is admirable. But if you read the description of this category, creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, it's so hard to not make a strong argument for Tears of the Kingdom. And it's not just because you can really do anything in that game with the 4 abilities that you're given, but it's the fact that the game already managed to make an already massive game 10 times bigger. And furthermore, when you add the physics of everything in Tears of the Kingdom, it gives Tears of the Kingdom, I would argue more than Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, a level of player freedom that is massive, borderline limitless. And when you think of it like that, it's impossible for me to not give it to Tears of the Kingdom. All right, guys, the last one, the big one. Game of the Year. Recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Boy, you guys aren't gonna like me. You guys are not gonna like me, because if you actually know what I do on my channel, then you know I don't reveal my game of the year. So then you know this is where we wrap it up. But I will say, like I said in my predictions video, this is going to be a race between Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Tears of the Kingdom. If any one of those win, I'm not gonna be upset. But if you guys want to know my game of the year, well, you're just gonna have to see my top 10s of 2020, my top 10 games of 2023 video, which I'm gonna start working on after the Game Awards. So, hey guys, this was an experience. I actually really enjoyed doing this. So, I want to try and release one more video by the end of the year, and I want to try and make a video predicting the announcements that we're going to see at the Game Awards. I already did the nominees, I already did the winners. I want to talk about what games could possibly be shown at these awards, because honestly, we have some pretty good ideas, and I'd be very eager to talk about that. If I don't, then my next video will definitely be my top 10 games of 2023. I'll start working on that after the Game Awards, and I can see that video being released after I finish my own personal Instagram Gamer Awards. By the way, I'm doing something called the Instagram Gamer Awards. This will be the 3rd year I do it. If you want to participate in it, then hey, follow me on Instagram, but I'll leave a few notes and tidbits on YouTube to keep you guys up to date. So if you want to be a part of it, follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching. If you chose to watch, let me know what your picks are for some of these categories. Please, I want to know. I'm so curious. So keep me up to date. Follow me on Instagram. Be good people, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, peace.